There are people who function as the invisible gravity of their social worlds. They are not the loud ones, the charismatic leaders, or the ones who demand attention. They are the ones who hold the ground steady. They are the listeners. If you are one of them, you know the feeling of being an emotional sanctuary. You are the person strangers trust with their life stories within minutes of meeting. You are the friend who receives the late-night crisis calls. You are the designated keeper of secrets, the vault where others deposit their fears, their sins, and their grief. It is a role that often earns you praise. You are called an old soul, a rock, or an empath. People say, "I feel so safe with you," or "You're the only one who understands." And for a long time this feels like a purpose. It feels like love. But there is a specific, heavy exhaustion that comes with being the eternal vessel for other people's emotions. It is a fatigue that sleep cannot touch because it is not your body that is tired. It is your capacity to contain. You are walking around carrying the weight of a dozen different lives, a dozen different traumas, a dozen different conflicts that do not belong to you. In psychology, we speak of containment, the ability to take in another person's distress, process it, and hand it back to them in a manageable form. A mother does this for her infant. A therapist does this for their client. But the listener does this for everyone, all the time, often without consent and almost always without reciprocity. You have become a dumping ground for the unprocessed shadow material of those around you. And the tragedy is, while you are drowning in their water, they think you are simply waving. They do not see the cost of your silence. They do not see that your vessel is overflowing. How does one become a listener? It is rarely a choice made in adulthood. It is almost always a survival strategy forged in the kiln of childhood. Perhaps you grew up in a home where the adults were emotionally fragile, volatile, depressed, or consumed by their own chaotic lives. In such a house, there was no room for your feelings. The air was already too thick with theirs. So you learned to make yourself small. You learned that to be safe, you had to be invisible. You learned that to be loved, you had to be useful. You became the parentified child. You learned to read the temperature of the room before you even entered it. You learned to soothe the angry parent, to comfort the sad one, to mediate the conflicts. You learned that your value lay in your ability to absorb the shockwaves of the family system. This childhood adaptation follows you into adulthood like a shadow. You move through the world with a vacancy sign lit up above your head, signaling to every person in crisis that you are open for business. You attract the broken birds, the narcissists, the energy vampires, not because you are unlucky, but because your silence feels like an invitation. To a person who needs to dump their emotional load, a listener feels like a drug. You validate them. You do not interrupt. You do not judge. You suppress your own needs to make space for theirs. And in doing so, you inadvertently confirm a dangerous lie, that they are the main character of this reality, and you are merely the supporting cast, the non-playable character, NPC, designed to facilitate their journey. But there is a darker truth here. Listening is also a form of control. When you are the listener, you are safe. You are the observer, not the observed. You hold the cards. You know their secrets, but they know nothing of yours. It is a way of being intimate without being vulnerable. It is a way of connecting without risking rejection. If you never show your true self, you can never be truly rejected. Only your utility can be rejected. And so you hide behind the shield of your empathy. The cost of this hiding is vicarious trauma. This is a term usually reserved for social workers, first responders, and therapists, but it applies equally to the chronic listener. When you spend your life immersed in other people's pain, it changes the architecture of your mind. You begin to view the world through a lens of crisis. You inherit anxieties that aren't yours. You lie awake at night, worrying about your friend's failing marriage, your sister's financial ruin, or your partner's depression. Their problems colonize your thoughts until there is no territory left for your own dreams. You become a psychic sponge. You walk away from coffee dates feeling drained, headachy and irritable. You start to resent the phone ringing. You feel a flash of anger when someone asks, "Can I vent for a second?" This resentment is a vital signal. It is your psyche screaming that the boundaries have been violated, but you suppress it. You tell yourself you are being selfish. You tell yourself they have it worse than me. You minimize your own exhaustion because you have been trained to believe that your needs are noise and their needs are signal. And so the cycle continues. You give an ocean and you receive a cup. You pour yourself out until you are hollow, and in that hollow space, loneliness takes root. It is a profound, aching loneliness to be known by no one, while knowing everyone. To be the keeper of 1,000 secrets, but to have no one who can hold yours. You are surrounded by people, yet you are completely alone in your experience. There is a way out of this trap, but it requires a terrifying rebellion. It requires you to break the contract you signed when you were a child. It begins with the realization that holding space is not the same as carrying the load. You can be compassionate without being a container. You can care for someone without merging with them. This is the difference between empathy and enmeshment. Empathy is feeling with someone. Enmeshment is feeling for them. The first step is to close the door. You must learn to say, I love you, but I do not have the emotional bandwidth to discuss this right now. This will feel like violence. Your heart will race. You will feel a tidal wave of guilt. You will fear that they will leave you. And the hard truth is, some of them will. When you stop being the dumpster for other people's toxicity, the people who only used you for disposal will have no use for you. They will call you changed. They will call you cold. They will say you are not the person they used to know. Let them go. This is the necessary pruning. You are clearing the dead wood from your forest to let the light reach the floor. You are making space for reciprocity. You must begin to practice the art of taking up space. Start small. Share a story from your day. Express a preference. Complain about something trivial. Interrupt. Watch who listens. Watch who stops talking about themselves to ask about you. Watch who remembers the details. These are your people. These are the relationships that can sustain you. As you step out of the role of the listener, you will discover something remarkable, your own voice. For years, your voice has been atrophied, used only to echo and validate others. But it has a timbre, a texture, and a truth of its own. You have opinions, you have desires, you have anger, you have joy. These things have been waiting in the wings, waiting for the lead actor to vacate the stage. You are not a vessel, you are the water, you are not a mirror, you are the landscape. It is time to resign from your position as the unpaid therapist of your social circle. It is time to retire the old soul badge. You are allowed to be young, foolish, messy, and loud. You are allowed to have problems that have no solutions. You are allowed to be the one who needs holding. The world does not need another martyr. It does not need another sponge soaking up the spillover of the unconscious. It needs you, the real you. The one who exists when the listening stops. So take a deep breath, exhale the weight of everyone else's lives, and for the first time in a long time, listen to yourself. What is the silence saying now? It is saying, welcome home.